Everybody, this is Michael Kay, host of the Weekend Underground, and I'm here at the Wildey Theatre with the lovely and very talented Samantha Fish. Great show tonight, sweetheart.
Thank you very much.
Great job tonight, and thank you for your performance this evening. So I'm going to talk a little bit about your career. Let's start, first of all, obviously, for me, seeing you for the very first time, and a great show, and very, very talented, I must say.
Thank you.
Obviously, to me and to many members of the audience, you're a young lady in your early to mid-20s, and yet you're playing the blues and performing the blues as if you've been doing it for decades. So if you could tell me a little bit about your exposure to the blues and what sort of led you down the path to perform the blues.
Well, you know, honestly, it wasn't something that I grew up with in my home. My family, my mom and dad listened to a lot of like classic rock and roll. I grew up with really healthy dose of the Rolling Stones, Tom Petty, and all those kind of guys. And for me, the blues, I didn't really discover the blues until I was around like 17 or 18, and it's because Kansas City is such a blues town.
Right.
I was learning how to play guitar. I wanted to go out within the town and jam.
Sure.
And then I had to learn a couple standards, and I really fell in love with the passion, and I felt like it was the best way for me to kind of emote, through music. It felt right. So that's why. And now that I write songs, it's like those are the kind of songs that just kind of happen to come out, or bluesy tunes.
Right. Well, again, you did a great job, great performance this evening. Talk a little bit about classic rock, but we'll get into the blues. Obviously, you mentioned the Rolling Stones, and fortunately your parents sort of exposed you to rock and roll. So you're listening to classic rock and roll, the Stones, maybe 10 years after, Led Zeppelin, what have you. As you started to get a little deeper into the album, so to speak, what artists sort of impressed you, or what artists sort of helped you to head down that blues path?
Well, once I kind of got into the blues, I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan, he was the big crossover artist for the kind of generation of music that I was listening to. I was listening to like 101 The Fox, classic rock radio, and they played Stevie Ray Vaughan all the time. And bands like AC/DC, they're really just three-chord they're kind of a rock and blues band.
Right, exactly.
And a lot of those guys are. A lot of those guys that were on that rock and roll scene were just like the Rolling Stones. I mean, they came out because of Muddy Waters.
Sure, exactly.
So I don't know. It's when I discovered the blues, I started kind of digging back and going back, and I discovered Skip James and Charlie Patton and Robert Johnson. I just fell in love with the Delta, really kind of raw rock and blues like Arl Burnside and Judy Kibro.
Sure. Well, and again, based upon your performance this evening, that's what sort of struck me, is that your blues was actually more traditional. I would say more traditional electric blues, more Chicago blues, I guess more Kansas City electric blues, if you will. And again, I think the crowd really appreciated your performance this evening, and they got what you were doing. Let's talk a little bit about your songwriting, and obviously you're working within a blues palette. How long have you been writing, and how long have you been recording?
Well, I started writing for my first record. I think it came out, we recorded it in 2009, and so I started writing songs then. And my first record, Live Bait, you'll hear a lot more just kind of standard tunes. And then my last record, Runaway, which debuted off of Roof Records, it was a solo debut. There's a little bit more variation. I really fell in love with songwriters like John Hyatt and Tom Waits and Tom Petty.
Sure.
So that kind of songwriting really struck me in a way. They really tell stories. So for me, I've tried to focus on that. My next record, though, I think it's going to go off a little further. We're gonna open up the blues, so to speak, and kind of open up chord progressions, and it's going to be more song focused.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Great. Again, that's terrific. It's great to hear that you're sort of evolving as an artist and as a songwriter. And again, the performance. And again, I think this is what really struck the audience. And for those of you watching at home, multiple standing ovations throughout her performance this evening, because I think you really struck a chord. And for someone who's a little older than you are, it's very heartening to know that true American art form of blues music is being carried on. Talk a little bit about your voice. and your vocals and some of the vocalists that you have been influenced by, or who you like to listen to and maybe to some degree emulate or learn from?
Well, I'd say the first, females that I really listened to, like Bonnie Raitt, big deal for me. I fell in love with, just recently, I think, Grace Potter's music. Like, I listen to her records all the time. I'm like, okay, how does she do that? Grace Potter, Bonnie Raitt. I had one more of those. The first chick I ever really, the first song I ever learned was "If It Makes You Happy" by Sheryl Crow.
Oh, sure.
It's poppy, but she's got an incredible voice.
Oh,
so I
she
always
sure
listen to her. She's this like super high soprano, and I just loved her range. So for me, I listen to a lot of those females, but a lot of males really influenced my singing.
Sure.
Like Freddie King,
Okay.
modern guys like Tab and Wye,
Right, yeah.
Curtis Salgado, Jimmy Hall, Mike Zito. Those guys are just singing
Right.
fools.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you've got a great style, and you've really you really are very expressive. And again, for those of you who didn't see the show, too bad. Talk a little bit also. It's interesting to me that the guitar that you're playing, the Telecaster.
Yeah.
So why the Telecaster? Usually it's a Strat, it's a Les Paul, it's a Firebird. It's interesting to see you, a blues guitarist playing a Telecaster.
Well, because I hate to say it, I'm a big copycat, but a couple of my friends that I really grew up listening to, like Mike Zito, he's a huge influence on me. He actually produced my record, Runaway.
Great.
He's getting ready to produce my next record. But I used to go out and see his shows, and man, he had just an arsenal of Telecasters. And I fell in love with the tone and the versatility of it. Like, you could put it on everything. Well, not almost everything.
Yeah.
Tab Benoit plays Telecaster thin line, and it's got this really, it darkens up the Telecaster tone a little bit. And I just fell in love with how natural and raw it sounded.
Sure. Great.
Yeah.
Great. Talk a little bit about the guys that you're playing with right now. You're kind of working really a three-piece. You had a guest this evening play
Yes.
harmonica with you. But can you tell the folks who the guys are in your band right now?
Yep. The drummer is, his name's Gogo Ray. He's from Kansas City. He's a 2010 Roland V champion of the world.
Wow.
He's an incredible drummer. Very lucky to have snatched him up. And actually, the bass player used to play with Mike Zito down in Texas. He's from Austin, Texas. Incredible bass player. He's 24 years old. He just, it's incredible how he knows his instrument. He just knows it. And Jimmy Mead sat in with us tonight on the harmonica. He plays with a very popular group in Kansas City called Levittown. Talent guy. He wanted to come, and I said, let's do it.
Sure. So working with the three-piece, obviously along the same lines of any of the great, trios, Stevie Ray and Double Trouble, or ZZ Top, or Cream. What is it about the trio setup that appeals to you?
Well, initially it's the economical choice.
Well, sure. Yeah, there's some of that.
But for me, when I first started, and I feel like I'm just now getting to the point on the guitar where I can hold my own, but I wanted to be a better guitar player, and I felt the only way I could do that was just to throw myself headfirst into a three-piece situation, because as a guitarist you have to do so much more.
Right.
There's a lot to fill. You have to be a good rhythm player and lead player, and basically you have to be able to do more than just I have to sing and play at the same time.
Sure.
I can't just turn one off and do the other. So for me, I just wanted to be, I hate to say, the best I could be, and
Right.
that's why.
Sure. It certainly doesn't allow you to get lazy on stage.
No.
You've got to either be playing rhythm or playing lead or what have you.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed your set. I enjoyed the variety of music, the blues. The up-tempo stuff, the slow stuff, the solos. Just a great mix, a nice balance to your performance this
Thank
evening. And because obviously we do lots of shows here at the Wildey, and when someone comes along, such as you and your group, man, that is something special.
Thank you.
So I have some fun questions for you,
Yes.
okay? So here's two I love to ask, this particularly to performers and songwriters, etc. So here comes two questions. So you're in the studio, and you're working on your next record, and you guys are in the middle of a session, and there's a knock on that big padded door, and the door opens up, and it's fill in the blank saying, hey, I'd love to collaborate with you on a track. So who is that person?
Oh my God. Well, can I give you three? 'Cause
Sure. Oh, that's okay. Sure.
I would die if any of these three people came and wanted to collaborate. First would be Tom Petty.
Yeah.
I would die. Tom Waits.
Okay.
Die. And then John Hyatt. These are the three guys, songwriters that I love.
Those are great. So
Yeah.
so we have a mutual admiration for the guys. My favorite Hyatt is Bring the Family. I love
Yes.
that CD. I love
Man,
that CD.
We just opened for him a couple weeks ago in Kansas
Wow.
City, and he's such a nice guy.
Oh, that's
Amazingly,
great to hear.
He's talented. He's got a great band. I'm still like on a high from that show because they were so kind to us, and I actually got to exchange some words with him, and he gave me some really, really solid songwriting advice. Just a nice guy all the way
Wow,
around.
great.
It's nice when you meet people you look up to, and they're cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Can't beat that.
Yeah.
So that was the studio question. So now you've got your CD out, and as you're making some waves a little bit, and the phone rings one day, and fill in the blank. Hey, we're going to do the USA for 6 months, and we'd love for you to open up for us on our show. Who would that be?
See, I gave you my top three. Well, I love the Stones. If they called me, I'd totally
Yeah.
do that.
That would be awesome.
You know what, like bands I'm really liking right now, if Grace Potter called,
Uh-huh.
and I'm loving like the guys who are going and doing this kind of alternative blues.
Sure.
That's really big right now, like the Black Keys.
Oh, yeah.
And Jack White. I mean, those guys
Sure.
are making huge waves. I would do. I mean, hell, if anybody called me up, I'd be on them.
Well, those are great choices.
Yeah.
Those are, and they would certainly, you would certainly complement that bill. You've got a very unique and fresh approach to the blues, and I hope you can go really, really far. Of course, we want to talk a little bit about the Wildey Theatre again. Welcome to the Wildey Theatre. Welcome to Southern Illinois. Now, is this the first time you've played in this part of the country?
No, we've done several shows in Illinois. We played Chicago, we've done Peoria, we've done Chillicothe.
Sure.
I know we've done more.
But first
Close
time
to
in
Missouri.
yeah.
There's
St. Louis. Have you been in St.
Been
Louis?
to St. Louis.
Okay, great.
Done some stuff really close to the border. Too.
Sure.
But Chicago is fun.
Yeah,
It's always a
yeah.
good time.
So, just your impression of the theater and the venue here. What did you think of the stage, the acoustics, the lighting,
Oh
the
man,
venue?
it's wonderful. Like
Oh, thank
it
you.
was easy to play. There's times where we play shows and it's like you're struggling because you're lacking, like vocal volume. You
Mhm.
can't hear the vocals or the drums are too boomy. But I felt like this room really had a good mix.
Oh, great.
And everything felt, it was easy to play to these guys and just focus on the music, which that's the best part is when you can forget about the sound and focus on the music.
Right. You're not distracted by feedback from the monitors, or you
Yeah.
can't hear so and so. You can't hear the drums, or you can't hear the bass guitarist, or
They're
whatever.
very, very good sound guys who work here.
Oh well, great. That's good news. They'll love to hear that. So the new record. You talk a little bit about the new CD.
Yep.
And where did you record it?
Well, we haven't recorded it yet. We're
Okay.
going to do it in November.
Gonna do it in
December.
November.
We're doing it at Dockside Studios in Louisiana.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it'll be exciting. Mike Zito's producing it. Everything else is still kind of up in the air.
Sure.
What are we going to do? So I'm still working that out.
Okay, and not to let the cat out of the bag, but you've got some demos in the can ready to kind of go.
Yes.
And can we expect a change in your direction? Keyboards, horns, strings, more ballads?
The first record, Runaway, that we did, it was very stripped down, very raw, very like, what are you going to hear at our show? And I was really fortunate. We won an award with that one at BMA this year, which is wonderful. So it kind of puts more pressure on the second one. It's like,
Sure.
okay, how are we going to make this bigger,
Sure.
better? So don't be surprised if you hear some other instrumentation. How we might adapt that to our road show, who knows? I mean, I might keep a three-piece. I'm looking for a unicorn, really. I'm looking for a keyboard player, rhythm guitarist, and X amount of instruments. So if you're out there, call me up, please. I'm looking for you.
Great. And so going to Louisiana, have you been there before? Is there something about that part of the country that appeals to you, or is it just the availability of the studio? Is it just where Mr. Zito likes to work?
It's kind of the availability of the studio.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm trying to get some work with a few people down there as far as management and other musicians. There's kind of a
Sure.
camp down there that,
Okay.
and they're great people, and it's one of those things. It's got such a great vibe, and we want that vibe to rub off on the CD.
Sure.
it really does, it does matter where you do it. You know?
Right.
It feels right. It's gonna be a really cool process. I looked at the studio online, and it's really cool.
Great.
Really neat.
Great. So the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, on and off the road, or what's on the books?
Well, we're always on the road. We get a
Mm.
couple days off here and there, but I mean, right now it's kind of a balance between going out on the road and then trying to get out of Kansas City a little more, which is our hometown.
Mm.
And this weekend, we're doing the show tomorrow with Johnny down at the Voodoo Lounge in Kansas City.
Great.
I got my sister's wedding, and then I'm flying to Pennsylvania for a big festival out there, and then we've got some more shows locally in Kansas City, and then we're going back out on tour. It's just a little bit here and there.
Sure.
So.
Sure. So, is it a grind, or are you loving it?
I love it. I love it. Sometimes we hit like a 12-hour drive or 17-hour drive. That's the grind, is the driving. But
Right.
once you go and you play the gig and you meet all your new friends, it's awesome.
Yeah.
That playing the music's the fun part.
Of course, yeah. And it's the least amount of time, right?
Right.
You do one set and then it's over.
We drove 4.5 hours today to play for 45 minutes. It feels like we should still be going.
Yeah.
But it's great that we really enjoy it, and that's why you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one more question, just again to try, so the folks can kind of get to know you a little bit. Chilling out, and maybe you got an afternoon off or the evening off, and you got the luxury of just going to your music collection and picking one or two or three of your favorite full-length LPs. You're going to put it on side to side. So you go to the shelf and you got yourself a glass of wine or whatever, and you say, "Oh man, this is great." What are you going to throw on the turntable or on your CD player?
Well, right now, like the last couple weeks, it's been different. I'll tell you what it's been the last couple weeks.
Okay.
Everybody asks, "What's your all-time favorite?" It's like, that doesn't exist.
Can't
I
do
love. When you digest music like that, it's hard to pick a favorite. But right now, we had to the Pale Roots Festival a couple weeks ago, and we played right before Paul Thorne. I got his new record, What the Hell's Going On. I've been playing that one nonstop. And John High's new record,
Okay.
Mystic Pinball, which I guess is coming out September 25th, but we've been listening to that one on repeat. Who else? I got Bonnie Raitt's new record, Slipstream, too. I've been listening to that quite a bit, too. So,
Great.
yeah.
Great. Well, great. Well, Samantha, thank you so very much again. Welcome to Southern Illinois.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Wildey Theatre.
Thank you.
Check her out, guys. This is the future of the blues. Michael K. Weekend Underground. Thanks so very much for the Wildey Theatre.